Priti Patel is that depraved and evil that she's bringing back transportation, not for convicts, but people she wants to see locked up anyway. Asylum seekers and refugees arriving here by boat. Originally, her Nationality and Borders Bill wanted to send people to a lonely rock in the middle of the South Atlantic, but transport to Ascension Island isn't very frequent, so proved unworkable. Having voted to still send people fleeing war zones, poverty and genocide abroad because God forbid she have to put up with standing on the same landmass as them, a deal has been struck to send them to Rwanda instead. They literally face extradition to the middle of fucking Africa should they attempt to seek asylum in the UK. Of course, the pygmy-brained racists who would cheer such things will be loving this. But these are the most desperate people. We've seen them drown in the Channel. We've seen them want to get here because they're English-speaking or have family already resident here. There are many perfectly valid reasons for why people will want to come here instead of elsewhere. But with successive governments having closed off every legal way of reaching the UK to claim asylum, they've been left with no choice but to take the boats. The Tories are so determined that these people go exactly where they want, should they try to cross the Channel to get here, that they've instructed the Navy to patrol the Channel and pick such people up. I'd love to see what happens if the RNLI picks somebody up, for example, and the Navy expects them to hand over people half drowned to be deported to Rwanda. Will they be stopped from saving lives by the Navy, I wonder? I'm looking forward to hearing what their response to all of this is. Somebody definitely having a say on Patel's depravity is her opposite number in the Labour Party, Yvette Cooper. Sadly, Cooper, famed for her immigration control mugs, clearly hasn't moved on from her own hang-ups over refugees, since her biggest beef over the whole situation is the cost of it. She's used Australia, who, ironically for a nation descended from transported convicts themselves, who ship refugees to Papua New Guinea 1,500 miles away for processing, to attach a price tag to these people, rather than just see them as fucking people fleeing fucking war zones. She's completely missed the point, missed a massive frigging open goal, Starmer-like, because she can't look past her own disdain for refugees. I've discussed where the majority of these people have come from in previous videos. Afghanistan, where we were at war for 20 years, only to hand the place back to the Taliban. Yemen, being bombed to hell by Saudi Arabia using our weapons. Syria, where we were, again, involved in war. Iraq, goes without saying, we were at war there, and more besides. There's a common theme you might notice. We were part of their problem. Foreign wars we were involved in to a greater or lesser extent have displaced a great many of these people, and so often it centres around oil, as the @ToryFibs Twitter account points to, along with a reason why Rwanda has been chosen. It was at war not too long ago, the scene of genocide, but we ignored it because there was no oil involved. Rwanda is still a dangerous country, though. In 2020, Human Rights Watch reported that in Rwanda, freedom of expression can get you killed. In 2018, for example, 12 refugees there protesting conditions were gunned down by Rwandan police. They've also stated that guards in prisons and detention centres have been reported for committing beatings, torture, and making threats. It is also a poor country. 57% of the population don't even have access to clean running water. Under our international duty, under the Refugee Convention, we have a responsibility to take care of these people, and sending them to Rwanda is blatantly not doing that. Right now, we're offering asylum, albeit extremely limited, to people from Ukraine. So why are we not offering exactly the same for those fleeing Afghanistan, for instance? Many of those trying to come from there were promised help to settle in the UK in return for their assistance in wartime. Now that requires a boat ride after being rinsed for all their worth by people traffickers, only to get a round trip to Rwanda and possibly be sent back to the Taliban head choppers. The Tories will say, well, many of these are economic migrants. Except you have no idea if that is the case until they make a claim for asylum. It's an excuse for government racism, which is rampant. They'll also say, well, this is dealing with the traffickers, but actually the only way to take them out of the equation and stop exploiting people fleeing for their lives on rubber boats and handing over all of their worldly possessions for the privilege is to open up safe, permanent, legal routes again, because there aren't any. Patel is as deranged as she is despicable, a nasty little fascist, a racist whose hatred for refugees, disproportionately those of colour, is seemingly unparalleled. So great that deportation to a country nearly 7,000 miles away has become UK policy. Historians might look at this and recall that the Nazis planned to ship Jews to Madagascar once upon a time. Is this really very much different? This has, as I said before, been policy for years in Australia, but it doesn't work. People still seek asylum after gaining a legal entry. And if you think our Navy will catch every single boat coming here, you can think again. If their role is to target the traffickers, they'll fail to make much of a dent in it. It's a lucrative business worth the risk to such people, and there will always be more to replace everyone you might catch. That Patel is the daughter of refugees herself makes this entire affair all the more shocking. I cannot comprehend that woman's mindset. 8 days ago, Richard Harrington, the refugees minister, hadn't even heard of any plans to send refugees to Rwanda. So how hurriedly has this been lashed together? Simon Hart, one of Patel's lackeys, said this was part of 9 months of negotiations. But we know that's bollocks because the immigration minister didn't know 8 days ago, and only a few months ago the plan was to send them to Ascension Island. Then this is clearly all a pack of lies. The accusation has been made that this is all a big dead cat, a distraction to take the heat off Johnson for his partying. I think we can guarantee he's going to get more fines and that story isn't going to go away. He's a criminal. He needs to go. But this new immigration policy needs to be highlighted for the monstrous atrocity it is as well. The dereliction of duty where it comes to human rights and the blatant racism shown by the Tories, especially when Labour's main issue is the financial cost of the exercise and not the human cost. Again, it's down to ordinary folk to say no to this. Not in my name.